How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Rangers Rundown. Today, I want to go over games 11 through 20 of this season and kind of break down the stats, break down the wins, see where this team is at about a quarter of the way through the season, and make some maybe bold predictions on how this team is going to fare over the next 10 games. So let's hop right into it. Let's start with how these last 10 games went. At Edmonton, they lost 5-6 in that overtime game. Then they went to Calgary and they lost in that complete rout by Calgary for the second time this year, and they lost 0-6. Then they came home and they played Florida, and we were a little worried that the last two games were going to spiral into a 3-game losing streak, but the Rangers came out and they battled hard against the best team in the league, and they pulled off a win 4-3. If you remember, it was 4-1, I believe, with like 3 minutes left in the game, and Florida scored 2 late ones to make us nervous, but the Rangers did come out with the win. Then they went to Columbus and they won 5-3. Then they came back home, played New Jersey, and they won 4-3 in that epic 7-round shootout with Chris Kreider scoring the game winner. Then they went to Montreal and they won 3-2. So the Rangers put together their second 4-game winning streak of the season. They go to Toronto and they lose a very hard-fought game, 1-2. Then they come back home against Buffalo and they win in that crazy second period where there were 4 goals in a minute and a half. They come out with the win, 5-4. They go to the Islanders and they win 4-1. And then, of course, yesterday they were at Boston where they won 5-2. So over these last 10 games, the Rangers were 7-2-1, which is a fantastic record if you're trying to make the playoffs. Over the first 20 games of the season, so the first quarter of the season, the Rangers are 13-4-3, which is a great record, and they stand, they stand 5 points ahead of Columbus, which is a good cushion. The top 3 teams are all very close to each other. These two teams have 31 points. Rangers have 29. Columbus has 24. So they have a good cushion between the top 3 teams and the rest of the Metro. And should they fall into the 4th or 5th spot, at this point in the season, it seems like 5 teams from the Metro are going to make the playoffs and 3 from the Atlantic. But again, you never know. At this point, that's what it looks like. So if the Rangers do fall into 4th place in the Metro, they should still make the playoffs, but that remains to be seen. The next 10 games that they are going to play, they play tomorrow back against the Islanders, and then on December 1st, they play Philadelphia. December 3rd, they go San Jose, and then December 4th, Chicago. So they have a 4-game homestand to start these next 10 games against 4 teams that, to be honest, they should beat. So we could feasibly see the Rangers go on kind of a tear. They already have 3 wins in a row currently. If they win against the Islanders tomorrow, that ties their season-long win streak at 4. Then if they beat Philadelphia, that's a 5-game win streak. That's their longest of the season. They go against San Jose, then they go against Chicago. All 4 games at home. Rangers could possibly go on a 7-game win streak, which would be fantastic. After they play Chicago at home, they fly to Chicago and play them there. So that's 2 games against Chicago in a row, and that should be an easy 4 points for the Rangers. Are there easy points in the NHL? I don't like to think so. I think there are hard points and there are harder points. Rangers could win 8 games in a row. They could win their first 5 games of these next 10. Then they come back home and play Colorado, a team that is going to give them some trouble. Then they go to Buffalo after that on the 10th. Then they're against Nashville for the second time this year. Remember, they played Nashville. It was like their 5th game of the year. They played Nashville and they ended up winning. Then they're back against Colorado, and then they finish out the next 10 games against Arizona. So optimistically, we can expect a very similar record to what they just had over the previous 10. I think 7-2-1 isn't unreasonable for this. I think you could say win, possibly overtime, win, Maybe Colorado is the team that beats them. Maybe the 2 losses in these next 10 games are both against Colorado. Maybe Nashville gives them some trouble. Buffalo and Arizona, you would expect wins there. So over the next 10, it's, not exactly a difficult schedule, but I think we should expect the same. I think 7-2-1 is not unreasonable over these next 10 games. But we'll see. If we can go into the Christmas break with 20 wins on the season, I think that's a phenomenal spot for the Rangers to be in, and they're pretty much earmarked for the playoffs at that point. Shesterkin, his record is 11-3-2. He has a .222 goals against average with a .933 save percentage. He is one of the best goalies in the league right now, if not exactly in the goals against category, but in all-around play. It would be hard to say that Shesterkin is not one of the top 5 goalies in the league right now. I think that's a fair statement. Georgiev, he's only played 4 games. He's 2-1-1, so he does have a winning record. 4.08 goals against and an .858 save percentage. So while he does have a winning record, his stats are not great. Again, are we shocked at these stats? Not really. A goalie's stats, they're reflective of them as a player, but, it's Georgiev. Do they end up trading Georgiev at some point in the season? They need to find somebody that wants to take him. And for some reason, the Rangers really value Georgiev, so if there's a team out there that wants Georgiev, I don't think they're going to offer enough for the Rangers to pull the trigger. They might offer a 3rd-round pick, 2nd-round pick maybe, but I think the Rangers, for whatever reason, value him higher than that. But we'll see. Because we have Keith Kincaid down at Hartford who's playing really well, and he could very easily come up and be a very solid backup, but whatever. Let's get into some player stats. Panarin in 20 games, 5 goals, 16 assists, 21 points for a +4. He is playing extremely well. Tied for the team lead in points is Fox. 20 games, 4 goals, 17 assists, 421 points, and a +8. He is easily the Rangers' best player. Forward, defense, he is the best player. I think Shesterkin, Fox, Panarin, those are your top 3 guys. That is what's driving the Rangers forward right now. Kreider in 20 games, 15 goals, 3 assists for 18 points. He's a +4. He is on a complete tear right now. This won't last because as of right now, 15 goals in 20 games, that's 60 goals on the year, which he will absolutely not score. However, this is probably going to be the season where he finally cracks 30. And he's halfway there, only a quarter of the way through the season. So even if his pace slows down, which it inevitably will, he will regress to the mean. He's probably still going to crack 30 goals, which for this team is exactly what we need him to do. Park yourself in front of the goal and keep deflecting them in. That's really all we need you to do. Zibanejad, 20 games, only 4 goals for Zibanejad, but 12 assists for 16 points, and he's a +4. So while he is not the goal scorer that we've seen over the past 2 seasons, so far, that will inevitably change, he's still generating offense. He's still moving the puck. He's still getting the puck to people who can score, and the Rangers are winning games. Strome, in only 16 games, 3 goals, 11 assists, 14 points. He's a +5. He's also on a 7-game point streak. He is playing really well. Again, only 3 goals on the season, but 11 assists. He's helping to drive this offense. Gaudreau, 20 games, 3 goals, 2 of which are empty netters, 6 assists for 9 points, and he's a -1. He was not brought onto this team to be an offensive powerhouse. We're not expecting a lot of points from Gaudreau, but 6 assists, 9 points, you like to see that. He is a -1. He is touted as a more defensively minded player. He's been moved up and down the lineup so much he hasn't really gotten a foothold on any of these lines. I forgive you. It's fine. I do like him on the 4th line, though. I think if that's where he sits, what are we paying him? 3.5 million for a 4th liner is not ideal. You don't want to pay your 4th liners that much money. But if that helps the Rangers win this year, I'm fine with it. Trouba, 20 games, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. He's a +5. He is such a tank out there on the ice. We got him from Winnipeg thinking this is an offensive defenseman that can score a lot of points for us. And last year, that wasn't so much the case. He's doing better this year in terms of points, but he is just a grind you down defenseman. He is going to do whatever it takes on the ice to make sure the puck doesn't go in the net and that he helps spurn the offense the other way. I love Jacob Trouba. I love the way he's been playing so far. Lafreniere in 20 games, 5 goals, 1 assist for 6 points, -1. 5 goals already, so he's on pace for a 20-goal season if this pace keeps up. And I think 20 goals in your sophomore year is a pretty good season. 20 goals for anybody is a good season, unless if Ovechkin scored 20 goals in a season, we'd be a little confused. But I think 20 goals is a good goal for Lafreniere to shoot for this year, because being the number 1 overall pick comes with some baggage, and he's experienced some of that baggage and criticism so far. If he scores 20 goals this season, I think that criticism starts to go away, and so far he's on pace for that. Kakko in 16 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points, +4. All of those points were over these past 10 games. Remember, he didn't have a point the first 10 games of the season. So these last 10 games, he's been playing really well. And he almost scored again last night, if not for that amazing save by Swayman. So he could easily have 4 goals. Keep this up. He's playing way better defensively than he did his first year in the NHL. He played defensively well last year. He's continuing that this year. I think once Gallant really solidifies these 4 lines and they don't change for 5 or 6 games in a row, and we see them kind of cement into who they're playing with, I think this team will consistently score 3 to 4 goals a night throughout the season, unless they're playing Toronto. Rooney, 20 games, 5 goals, no assists, so 5 points and a +1. Rooney, he's driving the offense on that 4th line, and that's what we need him to do. Do you miss Blackwell? I don't. I haven't thought about him that much this season. I think Rooney is playing extremely well for us. He's a hard-nosed player. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. And, you know, he's decent with the puck, and that's really all you can ask for a 4th liner. Hunt, 20 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. He's a -2. I like Hunt where he is. I think he's got the potential. I equate it to how Nemestikov played when he was with Tampa Bay. He was on the first line with Stamkos, and Kucherov, maybe. But Nemestikov, not a first-line player in the NHL, was on the first line with Stamkos and ended up scoring a lot of points. I think Hunt could be a very similar situation for the Rangers, where he's not a first-line player on his own, but you put him with first-line players, and his skill is going to start to come out. Lindgren, 20 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. He's a +8. So the combination of Fox and Lindgren, who are both +8, they're one of the best defensive pairs in the NHL. I would say top 7 defensive pairs in the NHL, Lindgren, Fox. Lindgren's not going to score a lot of goals this year, but the goals that he does score are going to be very important, and the work that he puts in, he's just like Trouba. He's going to do whatever it takes to make sure this team wins, and we need workhorses like that. He's doing really well. Hedl, 17 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, and he's 0. So he's not positive, he's not negative for the +-. Would we like a little more offense from Hedl? On the score sheet, yes. He is putting in the work. He's grinding on the ice. He's getting himself into those areas. He's getting chances. His line has been the best line for the Rangers in some of these past games. So it's not like Hedl is having a bad season. The pucks just aren't quite going into the net yet. Again, that should change as long as he stays healthy. Gauthier in 11 games, because he didn't play much the first 10 games. In 11 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points, and he's a +1. I think the fan base really enjoys Gauthier. If Gauthier stays in this lineup, we're going to be happy. And it's unfortunate what happened to Sammy Blais, in that he's out for the rest of the season. But from that, you can call it a silver lining. Gauthier is now able to get into this lineup and show us a strong case as why he should stay in the lineup, because he's been playing well. That kid line, that third line, Lafreniere, Heel, Gauthier, they've been playing really well. Gautier's a big boy, and he's got some speed. He's able to generate that offense. If he can learn how to finish a little bit better, because I think that's his Achilles heel right now, he can get into the zone and he can get to the net, but his finishing is not quite there yet. But if he can figure that out, that third line is going to be crazy. Miller, 20 games, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points, and he's a 0. Again, not going to ask a lot of offense from Miller. He does play with Trouba, who is a little bit better of an offensive player. This is Miller's sophomore year. He's kind of still figuring it out, the little details going from good to great. He is one of the staples of this defense, and he's been playing well. He's got that long reach. He interrupted Marchand's 2-on-1 last night. That was nice to see, and he's playing well. Reeves in 16 games, no goals, but 3 assists for 3 points, and he's a -3. Again, not an offensive player, but that 2-assist night he had the other night was really nice to see. He's here to provide grit and toughness and hits and just intimidate the other team, and so far he has been doing that. He's not a dumb jock. He hits people. I think he's 4th in the NHL right now in hits, but he's smart about it. He doesn't take bad penalties. He knows when it's time to put that big hit or that big check, and he doesn't take unnecessary slashing or retaliation or boarding penalties. He's smart about it. He knows what he's doing. Nemeth, 20 games, no goals, 2 assists for 2 points, -6. He's a bottom pairing defenseman, and he's only here to help Lundqvist reach towards the ceiling that he has. Nemeth is not on this team because he's a defensive powerhouse or he scores a lot of goals or he helps drive the offense. He's here to protect Lundqvist. And you could make the argument on whether or not he's been doing that successfully. He is a -6. Is he the weakest defenseman on this team? I want to say yes, but also we haven't seen that much from Lundqvist yet to say that he is better than Nemeth, at least in my opinion. So Nemeth, is he hurting the team? Maybe a little bit, but it's not enough that that's the first talking point. When you talk about the Rangers and what's going wrong, Nemeth is not first on that list. He's probably 4th or 5th on that list. He's not a big problem. He's not a problem the Rangers need to worry about right now. So, and he has 2 assists. He's putting in his work as a third pairing defenseman, and that's really all we can ask. And then Lundqvist, 15 games, because Tenorti has played 5. No goals, 2 assists, 2 points, but he's a 0. So he's been on the ice for 6 fewer goals against than Nemeth. So you could say, all things considered, Lundqvist is a shade above Nemeth as the 5th best defenseman on this team. And again, he's getting used to the league. He's a rookie. You can't hold your expectations too high for Lundqvist. He's third pair, so he's not getting a lot of minutes. He's getting sheltered minutes. He's probably playing a lot in the offensive zone, trying to keep him away from defensive heavy assignments. Gallant's doing his best. Nemeth is helping him out. We'll see what Lundqvist can do. Hopefully he scores his first goal of the season soon, though. I'm really looking forward to it. Team stats. Rangers are 13-4-3 for 29 points. They are 3rd in the Metro. Now, after the first 10 games, they were 2nd in the Metro, but they're a very close 3rd. They're only 2 points behind these two teams. So Rangers could even fight for 2nd place or even 1st place. If Carolina and Washington start to fall off, the Rangers could end up 1st. A lot of good things need to happen. I think 3rd is a reasonable ending spot for this team by the end of the year. So we'll see what happens. Goals for, Rangers have scored 60 goals, and goals against are 54. So they're a +6, which is not fantastic, but they are outshooting their opponents just barely. Goals for is 60, which is 10th in the NHL, which is up from 19th, which is where they were 10 games ago. Goals against, 54. That's 18th in the league, which is way down from 9th, which is where they were 10 games ago. So they are scoring more goals, but they are also letting more goals in. Goals for per game, Rangers are scoring about 3 goals a game. That's about the pace. 60 goals in 20 games. You divide 3 goals a game, roughly, which is good. You'd like to see that number get towards 3.5. I think if the Rangers can score 3 or more and stop winning these 2-1, 2-0 games, I think that's only going to help, especially when Georgiev's in the net. But 3 goals per game, that's 14th, which is way up from 26th, which is where they were. Goals against per game played 2.7, which is 9th, which is down from where they were 10 games ago. Power play is 20.3%, which is 12th in the NHL, which is up from 20th. The penalty kill is 80.7, which is 19th, which is down from 8th. So the power play has gotten way better. Penalty kill has kind of gotten worse, but they're getting their legs back. Shots per game, Rangers 28.3 shots per game, which is 28th. But that's better than where they were 10 games ago, which was 31st. So they are generating more shots. We've seen that over the past 10 games. They need to keep trending in that direction. Shots against per game, 32.3, which they are down from 20th to 21st. So if they can generate more shots and keep more shots off of their net, I think that only helps this team down the stretch. Faceoffs, 45.3%. They are 31st in the league, which is down from 30th. So the Rangers have gotten worse over the last 10 games in faceoffs. They are only better than one other team. And I don't remember which team that was. It's probably Arizona or Ottawa. But they're only better than one team in the faceoff dot. They are consistently winning fewer than 50% of the faceoffs. And again, they're winning games. Faceoffs don't really matter until it's the important faceoff. Most faceoffs, if you lose it, it doesn't really matter. Also, some players lose on purpose just because that's going to benefit them more. So if you lose the faceoff on purpose, does that count as a win? It gets a little fishy. But if you win the important faceoffs, I think that's what matters. Defensive zone faceoffs on power plays, those are the faceoffs you want to win. Rangers are winning 45.3% of those. Obviously, that's better. It's not totally hindering them. You could make the case that it is. I wouldn't. I think there are other things to worry about. But that's the team over these last 10 games. Now, I'm not sure when the postponed Ottawa game is going to pop up. I doubt it's going to happen over the next 10 games because the Rangers have 3 games and 4 nights here. They have 3 games and 4 nights here, and they have 3 games and 4 nights here. So again, this very condensed schedule, the Rangers play 3 games and 4 nights 3 times. It's a very compact December schedule. Now, the quality of opponent has gone down from the previous 10 games, but still, if the team stays healthy, they have a shot of pushing for second, if not first in this division, which would be fantastic for a fan base that is just really hungry for playoffs. But I really think this is the year. But if you like this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next rundown.